I'm going to be reacting to a video on the My Wife Quit Her Job's YouTube channel entitled eBay and Etsy just got crushed by Trump and it's great news for you. Also, shout out to them because this podcast actually helped inspire my e-commerce journey over 8 years ago. So they've been in the game longer than I have, and Steve has my respect. But let's get straight to it.
Millions of small sellers just got destroyed overnight, and you probably didn't even know what happened. Right now, as I'm recording this, half the people selling on Etsy and eBay are about to lose everything. We're talking about mom and pop shops, college students paying rent, retirees supplementing their income, all gone. And it all comes down to one number, 800 bucks. Trump just eliminated what I'm calling the $800 rule, and it's already sending shockwaves through every online marketplace in America. If you sell anything online, even that old phone you were about to list on eBay, you need to hear this because
It'd be interesting to see how it affects print-on-demand sellers since we're not fulfilling the orders ourselves. Instead, we outsource that to bigger companies like Printful and Printify.
what happened is about to change how millions of Americans and international sellers make money forever. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what this rule does, who it targets, and why the government is suddenly tracking transactions as small as your morning coffee. And here's the crazy part. While this change
Oh, more government oversight. Who else is excited?
will absolutely crush international sellers, for US-based sellers, this might be the single biggest opportunity in years. Because if you're selling from the United States, the playing field just tilted in your favor. So what exactly is the $800 rule? Until just a couple of weeks ago, the United States had something called the de minimis policy. It sounds boring, but it was the backbone of how cheap overseas products flooded into America. And here's how it worked. For almost a century, any package coming into the US worth under $800 could enter duty-free with no tariffs and no customs delays.
Did y'all ever go to, I don't know, people used to make fun of me because I would shop on eBay, but it was because you could go to eBay, type in anything you were looking for that was not like more than $800, I guess, and you could sort by price plus shipping lowest, and you could find like crazy things for like $1, under $1 often. And as a result, I didn't shop on Amazon for much longer than most people, would have expected, I guess. And even on Amazon, I think the same thing was working there. It's just on Amazon, everybody expects the prime 2-day shipping. And the way that you got the really cheap items was because you would order them and they would be shipped from overseas. So you'd have a longer shipping delay, but you were getting them at just dirt cheap prices.
That meant you could order a $2 gadget from China and have it show up at your door without paying a single extra cent. And sellers took full advantage of this. Last year alone, 1.36 billion packages slipped through this loophole. That is $64.6 billion worth of goods, and 73% of it came straight from China. This is why you saw $1 jewelry, $5 electronics, $10 knockoff handbags, all competing against US sellers who couldn't even buy the raw materials at those prices.
Worth noting, guys, I mean, it helps the sellers if you're based in the US, like Steve said. Not great for the consumers.
It was the ultimate unfair playing field. For millions of sellers overseas, this was their entire business model. That was the only reason that they were successful. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, didn't this already change in May for China and Hong Kong? And the answer is yes. But what happened was that international sellers started shipping their goods to Mexico and Canada to dodge the rule and then slip orders into the US postal system without getting taxed. But as of August 29th, this rule is now global. Whether it's Japan Post, Australia Post, or a small hobby seller in Europe, the door just slams shut. And the fallout has been crazy. Entire countries are already pausing deliveries into the US while they scramble to figure out the new rules. And the list is huge. The UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, practically every major country in the world has paused shipments to the United States. Sellers who relied on cheap shipping to reach American buyers are in panic mode. But here's the part most people don't even realize. It's not the tariffs that sting the most. Tariffs only run 10 to 50% depending on where the item comes from. It's painful, sure, but it's not that big of a deal. The real killer here are the handling fees and the administrative overhead. We're talking flat charges of $80 to $200 tacked onto packages that might be only worth $5 or $10.
See, that makes a lot more sense to me. It's the shipping associated or charges associated with shipping that were zero, if I understand this correctly, prior. And now, like he just said, are significant or can be significant. And, it's independent of the tariffs. So it's one thing to say, oh, it's the tariffs, but this is something completely different or not, it's associated with the product, but as I understand it, it's in addition to the tariff. So consumers, I would expect to see higher prices.
So picture this. You buy a $10 phone case from overseas. By the time it clears customs, that case costs $160. And suddenly, that cheap foreign competition doesn't look so cheap anymore. Now let's talk about who just got hit the hardest, Etsy and eBay. Etsy isn't some tiny craft marketplace anymore. It is home to nearly 8 million sellers who together generate over $12.6 billion in sales last year. And almost half of all Etsy transactions involve cross-border trade. Around 45% of sales are international, and nearly 3 out of every 4 buyers are American. That means a huge portion of Etsy sellers overseas rely directly on the US market to survive. eBay is in the exact same boat. In the second quarter of 2025, eBay sold nearly $19.5 billion worth of goods, and $9.4 billion of that came from US buyers. Almost half of the entire transaction volume comes from international sellers, many of whom ship directly to Americans using, you guessed it, the de minimis loophole. Take away that privilege, tack on tariffs, and pile on $80 to $200 in handling fees per package, and suddenly those $2 trinkets, $5 electronics, and $10 handbags that flooded Etsy and eBay are just going to disappear overnight. Investors already see what's coming. Etsy and eBay stocks both dropped 8 to 10% this week alone on fears that cross-border commerce is about to collapse.
I love the stock market, and it'd be interesting to see. I actually Googled the Etsy stock because this video dropped 2 days ago from when I'm recording, and it was up 7% today. So it recovered pretty much right away. So I usually don't like to associate up moves or down moves with stocks based on news, or, you know, if it is a real thing, you wouldn't expect to see it recover 2 days later. I'm just saying.
And that is why I say half the sellers on Etsy and eBay just lost their lifeline, and why US sellers are suddenly holding all the cards.
Yeah, think about it for a second, because eBay and Etsy, it's not like people won't sell the same products. What happens? The price goes up to account for the increased fees associated with importing them. It doesn't matter who you blame. Higher prices leads to more profit for eBay and Etsy, not less. So that initial sell-off, if it was caused by like algorithmic selling or something like that, I mean, it should be the opposite, right? It should go up.
So here's the contrarian take. While international sellers are panicking, this is the moment US sellers have been waiting for. Think about what just changed. The $2 gadgets from China are gone. The $5 knockoff jewelry shipped from overseas has been priced out of existence. And the race to the bottom that made it impossible for US sellers to compete on Etsy and eBay just ended overnight.
Worth mentioning, I mean, I don't know the last time you guys checked Amazon's print-on-demand catalog, but it is absolutely flooded with extreme low-cost print-on-demand products that we compete with from China, that ship from China, which is how they justified those low prices. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens to those products, because if those disappear overnight, I know personally, having been selling print-on-demand on Amazon via the Printful integration since 2017, I'm going to see a nice spike in sales, and I still push throughout the day, multiple products at a time, to my Amazon account via Printful. Guys, make sure you're subscribed. If you want to see more content on that, let me know in the comments. But it's a lot easier than you think, and somehow, even in late 2025, I feel like not that many people have embraced selling print-on-demand on Amazon. It's something you guys really need to take seriously.
For American sellers, this is a massive leveling of the playing field. Buyers who used to chase cheap imports will now face shipping delays, surprise custom fees, or prices that suddenly make no sense. And when that happens, they're going to look for alternatives. And who is left standing? You are. Sellers who are already in the US shipping directly to US buyers. You can highlight ships from the USA on your listings and instantly gain trust. You can raise your prices slightly without worrying about a $2 competitor undercutting you from halfway across the globe.
Worth mentioning too, guys, like ships from the US is a great little pop out on your listings. Like he just said, if you're not doing that, you know, consider it. It doesn't have to be on your primary listing. You can do it on a secondary listing either way, or put it in your bullet points, something like that. But it does build trust. And
you'll keep your customers happy because their packages will not get stuck at customs. Here's the other angle no one's talking about. Buyers hate friction. The minute a customer has to fill out a customs form or pay surprise fees on delivery, they're going to stop buying. That is why Temu and Shein exploded in the United States. They removed the friction with de minimis. Well, now that friction is back, but only for imports. US
Damn, that probably wrecked the value of Temu and Shein.
Sellers are not going to have that problem. That is why this isn't just a policy change. It is the biggest opportunity for American online sellers in decades. And if you move fast, you can capture that market share on these platforms. So what do you actually do with this information? Well, if you're an international seller, you've got two choices. In the short term, you must switch to DDP or delivery duty paid shipping. That means you, the seller, pay tariffs and fees upfront. So
here's the thing. If you're a print-on-demand international seller that doesn't live in the United States, as long as you're leveraging print-on-demand networks that can ship from the United States, you're good, is my understanding. So I think Steve is specifically speaking to people that I know that, you know, his initial business, as he shared in his podcast, was they started a linen company where they would import linens from various countries overseas. Well, if you're importing and they're going directly to you or your 3PL, your warehouse, etc., yeah, then you're paying the tariffs. You're stuck. You're hit hard by this, theoretically, right? It's the import aspect. I think if you're international selling print on demand, though, using like Printify, you're probably fine.
So your US customers do not get slammed with surprise bills. It's more expensive, but at least it keeps your store alive. And in the long run, you have to start storing and fulfilling inventory inside the US. You can use 3PLs, third-party logistics providers, Amazon FBA's warehouses, or even small fulfillment centers that cater to Etsy and eBay sellers.
It's just added costs. The one thing too, 3PLs used to not be that expensive, in my opinion. Ever since Amazon basically became the de facto standard, if you want to sell on Amazon, because that got you the prime shipping, the 2-day shipping that everybody expects, I noticed that other 3PLs started to increase their pricing. I mean, let me know if you saw something similar.
Yes, it's going to add costs, but it also keeps your products competitive and avoids the fees altogether. Not the tariffs, but the $80 to $200 handling fees. If you're a US-based seller, this is your moment to grab market share. And here's how. If you've been on the fence about Etsy or eBay, you should get in now. The competition pool just shrank by 50%. You'll also want to highlight that you ship from the USA. Make this front and center in your listings, thumbnails, and descriptions. It is now a powerful trust signal.
I would have been doing that already, but he makes a great point. Also, he's not saying Amazon, but Amazon as well, for sure.
You can now target previously saturated niches like jewelry, fashion accessories, electronics gadgets. Categories that were dominated by overseas sellers are about to have massive gaps. Step into those markets while buyers are still looking for alternatives. And then finally, you should lean into branding and product quality. Without rock bottom price imports, buyers will value reliability and US shipping speed. And that's going to be your edge. And remember, the average buyer doesn't care about trade policy. They care about whether the thing that they ordered shows up on time without surprise fees. And right now, only US sellers can promise that without jumping through hoops. So basically, this means that if you act now, you're not just surviving this policy change, you are turning it into a competitive advantage.
Me and Steve think a lot alike, guys. I'll end it there because the video is about to be over, but I always like to know what my discernible edge is in anything I spend my time doing, if I have one, first and foremost. And in this case, yeah, he just said, as a US-based seller, and normally we look at these business opportunities through the scope of selling print on demand, which again, we outsource to the print on demand companies, Printful, Printify, but think of what you could do yourself too. And if you wanted to maybe step in and exploit some of these voids that are going to be left from the people that were selling from overseas and fulfilling, more importantly, from overseas, able to ship those cheap one-off products that I alluded to. I used to shop on eBay instead of Amazon. People would be like, why? I don't understand. I'd be like, because have you ever looked? You can get stuff there at a fraction of the cost. And so anyways, guys, keep an eye out on your competition on whatever platforms you're selling on. See if you notice a discernible reduction in competition that hopefully yields more market share to you. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Also, check out Steve's YouTube channel, My Wife Quit Her Job. I'll drop a direct link to the video at the top of the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.